So good afternoon and welcome to Ditcham Park's Political Question Time. We're going to start off with the candidates introducing themselves.
Hello, my name is Anna Bedford. I'm representing UKIP today and I'm standing in for Rupert Grint, who rather unfortunately can't join us today.
Hi, I'm Matt Bryan, I'm the Labour Party candidate today.
I'm Freya Solly, I'm Green Party candidate.
I'm Sydney Pepperman, I'm Conservative.
I'm Luca Davidson, I'm a Conservative candidate.
I'm James Curry, I'm going for SNP.
I'm Alec O'Loughlin, I'm an independent Marxist.
I'm James Keppel and I'm a Lib Dem candidate.
And I'm Benedict Ellett and I'm a Lib Dem candidate.
Okay, so first question. What in your estimation is your most important policy? Ella, can you start us off, please?
Well, our probably most important policy is going to be putting the NHS before foreign aid, as we did have a lot of problems with the NHS. And obviously in some cases we have been prioritising foreign aid. So our hopes of putting the NHS before this is hoping to curb some of the strikes happening and also maybe getting some more GPs involved, which should cut down shortage. After all, London and places like that are most likely for GP shortage, which we're hoping to curb as there are a majority of the English population within London.
Okay, thank you. Labour.
In my opinion, it's the renationalisation of our services. So that's, for example, taking over all the privatised railway companies that the Tories have privatised over the past 7 years. So that means that no more strikes like the Southern strikes we've been experiencing recently, but also renationalising the Royal Mail to ensure better efficiency and also other major services for the public.
Thank you, Labour. Green Party.
Us probably saving the environment. So we plan to introduce a new Clean Air Act to make sure, well, the air is clean, kind of self-explanatory, and to a new Environmental Protection Act to, well, that's also quite self-explanatory, to protect climate, to stop climate change and to find subsidies for fossil fuels.
Thanks, Greens. Conservative Party.
We'd like to see a lot of help towards mental health. We're going to introduce about 10,000 new mental health workers into the NHS because I think it's a problem that is happening all over the UK at the moment and it's not really being dealt with acceptably.
Thank you. SNP.
Independence for Scotland, simple as it is.
Marxism.
Making absolutely everybody equal. Under the current capitalist government, the gap between the rich and the poor is expanding and we will decrease that massively.
Lib Dems.
Well, we feel that Brexit is a very important issue at the moment and we want to have a second vote on the terms of Brexit, so whether we could possibly rejoin the EU or we go for a soft or hard Brexit.
Thank you very much. Next question is about Britain leaving the EU or Brexit. Can you tell me what your party's view on Brexit is and whether it's a good thing or a bad thing in your party's view?
Well, personally, as we are the United Kingdom Independence Party, we view this as a great opportunity for England. After all, we will have more control over our country, what we can pass as laws without having maybe to go through the EU Parliament. And also we will be able to make choices for ourselves, which will be absolutely lovely, like our borders open and closing, the amount of migrants we can take through into our country. So we really are looking at this from both a human point of view and a financial point of view. We are looking through trade, we are looking for trade partners perhaps outside of the EU. For example, continuing our trade with China and hoping to get on the trade list for a partnership with the United States of America.
Thank you. And Labour.
Labour understands that the margin between the people who wanted to remain and people who wanted to leave is very slim. And in fact, 2/3 of Labour voters did vote remain. So we are going to aim for a softer Brexit with increased involvement in the EU market to ensure a healthier trade future.
Green Party.
We're going to have a second referendum with the option to reject the deal and remain in the EU. And if that doesn't go to plan, if we do end up leaving anyway, we plan to make sure that students can still live and work in the EU, and so a softer Brexit.
Okay, well done. Conservative Party.
So we believe Brexit is a done deal. We have to go through with it now. We're dealing with it at the moment. We're negotiating with with the people in Brussels, and we're going to try and stay in the single market. We're going to try and try and stay close to Europe, but still leave.
SNP.
As it stands with Scotland, we believe that Brexit is a bad thing, but at the same time it is Britain exiting. We think that Scotland has a right to stay in the EU if it wants to, which is why Scotland should be, and hopefully will be, independent in the future.
Thank you. Marxist Party.
Our major plan, we will just close the borders. Simple as.
Liberal Democrat.
Well, we feel we should have another vote on the terms of Brexit and what we decide to do. We think that free trade is a good thing and we'd like to keep that open as well. But ultimately, we think it's best for the people to decide.
Okay, well, thank you. The next question really is a personal question from several people at Ditcham Park, and it's this. What will your party do for my future as a young person? And how will you make my life better?
Well, once again, we are looking from a financial point of view, and we are looking at school places. Now, the Conservatives issued a statement on March the 9th, whilst I attended a meeting in Parliament, and they said 420 more school places in specialised schools. One of them they listed were maths schools or universities and colleges, which I think will open us more up for colleges and young people to go into the education system and into the jobs they want, which will be fantastic again for our country, because that gives us then the freedom and a range of industry for our country.
Thank you, Labour.
We, unlike many other parties, understand that young people are the future, and in that way we are going to be lowering the voting age to 16 to ensure that young people have a right to say what their future is. We will also be striving to establish a national education system, just like the NHS, to ensure that every child in the UK gets a great education, and one that is controlled more by the government than the local councils, and also increased funding as well.
Thank you. Green Party.
We will start by guaranteeing that every child can work and live in the EU. We would also like to bring down the voting age to 16 to make sure that every young person has a say, and because a lot of them do have ideas of what they want but aren't allowed to speak about it. We will scrap tuition fees to stop the burden of debt, and also we'll be restoring living grants.
Okay. Conservative Party.
So one of the main things we're doing at the moment is we're sorting out the housing crisis. So when you're just that bit older, you can get your foot on the housing ladder and young people can start buying their own homes a lot more. But what I would just mention is that the Labour Party plan to put a 20% increased VAT tax on our school fees. And if they did that, it might have a catastrophic effect on Ditcham Park School. The amount of pupils that would no longer be able to afford it, it could bring it down.
Can I say here that it's a debate. Can I say here that only 7% of children in the UK go to private schools, and those who do can comfortably afford it. And in many ways, if we do win and put 20, barely figure difference. And that extra 1.2 billion that we have will be injected into the NHS and other national services that will benefit everyone, not just those who can afford private schools.
Okay, anyone else want to add to this debate? Yeah.
But what about those that can't?
It's 7% of people, like I've said, and those probably 1% of children. It's unfortunate that they may have to go back into mainstream education, but with the funding that we're getting, mainstream education will not be the poor relation to private schools anymore.
Not everybody can just afford it though. But loads of people can just afford it, but it's because their parents are working so hard to get us here. And the amount of people that will no longer be able to afford it, because not everybody can comfortably afford it, everyone will go into the state system. And how will the state system suddenly be able to deal with this amount more people in the state sector? And how will they be able to pay for it?
Well, we're getting extra funding from mainly putting up the corporation tax that the Tories have been relentlessly cutting to get their privatisation through. We're going to be putting that up, and that is going to mean extra funding, and like I said, the national education system. It's not going to be, again, the poor relation to private schools anymore.
May I just say something? Isn't the NHS struggling as it is? So couldn't we have a similar situation? It doesn't matter how much you raise the price, you're still going to get a problem where the system struggles to cope, much like the NHS is at the moment.
Well, the NHS is not Labour's fault, I'm afraid. It's your friend over here, the Tories. The Tories have been cutting it year after year, and it's struggling in that way. And Labour will inject £38 billion into the NHS, and this is coming from taxing the wealthier, who the Conservatives have given tax relief. So the money is coming from places, and we know where it's coming from, and it's going to be injected into all the national services and everything. It's going to benefit everybody, the many, not the few.
Let's move on to the Marxist Party. Maybe you can answer the original question, how would you improve the lives of young people? You might want to come back on the future of independent education, perhaps.
Well, under a communist government, everyone would be far more equal, and therefore nobody would have too little money to live. So whatever job you have, you can still afford to get by. You'll still be able to afford food, water, and somewhere to live. Therefore, it doesn't matter what job you're in, you can still afford to survive.
Right.
May I ask, but the quality of living of those underneath your communist system, what will that be like?
Well, it will be very good, as there are some incredibly wealthy people currently, and having money taken away and given to the poor will make everyone so much better off, and all people will be able to afford a good enough quality of living.
Do you think that would destroy work ethic? Why would anyone strive for more if everyone would end up being the same?
Well, the longer you'd work, the more you'd get. So if you work harder and for longer, you'll still get more money. However, that is an issue. However, we may have ways that we can stop that with new laws.
Can you list those ways and laws, please?
Any of those that work far too little will be arrested.
Okay, thank you very much, Marxist Party. Let's move on to the Lib Dems and maybe go back to the original question. What would you do to improve the lives of young people?
Yes, well, we realise young people are very important at the moment. We realise the housing is a big thing, and you can often try and get up the housing ladder and really struggle to get a home, which is why Lib Dems want to build up to 300,000 new houses per year. And we also want to make it possible for young people to afford these homes by letting you pay it off over a 30-year time, so you're only going to have to pay a very small amount.
Where will you build all these houses?
It's a big country.
I know, and there's lots of places that are nice and protected. And do we want to expand all our major cities and make them even bigger? Won't that destroy the environment? You'll have more fumes from far more cars around one area.
Well, actually, that is why the Liberal Democrats are planning to reduce air pollution. We have a big system here. We're going to make sure we're going to cut down on pollution, because we understand that could be a problem if we build new homes. So we got it all mapped out.
Sydney from the Conservative Party has got a question.
But where's the money going to come from to build all these new houses? Where are you going to take the money from?
Well, tax evasion is a big thing at the moment. We feel if we cut down on tax evasion, we can raise at least 7 billion. Also, and public services, it's quite a common thing. You get people sitting around at desks counting numbers. We feel that you could really cut down on the amount of people you have employed for you, and we could raise a lot more money here. Also, police time has been used quite a bit. We know up to 10 billion, I think, is actually being wasted on trying to upkeep the law on banning cannabis. We're planning on making a legal, regularised market for cannabis, so we'd have all that money there.
Thank you very much. We'll move on now to a controversial topic of this election, and it's the Lib Dems' agenda for legalising marijuana. So perhaps we'll just ask the Lib Dems first of all why they want to legalise marijuana, and then perhaps other parties might want to come in with their views.
Well, at the moment, it's a big thing. People often try and take marijuana, and the sources can be very bad. We think that if we legalise it, we can control marijuana. We can get the quality right. We can also we're getting a lot of money, because police time at the moment, and police money, a lot of resources being put into stopping this, not to much avail. And we're also planning on using it in for medical purposes as a painkiller, if you're in very severe pain. And we obviously have more research to do, because it's not something that's been focused on in the past. Feel that if we put a bit of time and effort into this, we could really get a lot out of it.
Okay, thank you. Other parties, what's your view on this?
Can I share my views on here?
Let's start off with UKIP first of all.
Well, personally, we're a bit touch and go about the idea of legalising cannabis. It is seen, I believe, as a Class A drug. It can be rather sort of gunky if it is used. I mean, there are quite a few drug-related crimes when you bring cannabis or marijuana into the equation, like a lot of illegal marijuana farms. However, it could be used for medical purposes. I just believe it would take time to have a look, see how it all works. However, how would that be received by the public is my only doubt, how people who are against that would receive it.
Thank you. Ava, you got something to say on this?
Well, countless studies have been taken against the correlations of marijuana and mental health, and many of them have proved inconclusive. If I remember correctly off the top of my head, it's around 4% of people in the UK use cannabis regularly already, and we haven't seen any detrimental effects on people's well-being. Anyway, if we look across to our friends across the pond, many states in America have legalised cannabis and made a huge amount of money for the government off taxes for it. Colorado and California recently have legalised it, and they've made huge amounts of money, and that could be, again, re-injected into national services.
Thank you. Yeah. SMP.
I believe that it's something that you have to be careful with. On the one hand, it can be very useful for medicinal purposes. It has not very strong correlations with mental health, but at the same time, you can't let those 4% stand for the 96% that haven't. So you have to be careful about how you place these things. I think the integration between the system and the people has to be done very carefully.
I'd just like to bring everyone's attention to the fact that there is hard evidence to suggest that cannabis use can lead to harder drugs and lead to much more devastating drugs that will have a much larger effect on our society. So it's not just the cannabis we need to worry about.
Okay, Greaves.
Much of this, though, is because they are mixed with other drugs, which can lead to addiction and then move on to harder drugs. But if we are legalising it, it could be made supervised and made sure that it's just cannabis.
Okay, Marxism, have you got anything to say on this?
Not
yet. SMP.
I believe it's true. There's some problems with addiction and things, but at the same time, if we're talking about those, we have to think really about some much more bigger problems. Like alcohol and things like that. They are also themselves a very massive problem, which we don't really acknowledge. So I think legalizing marijuana would be much like how alcohol is legalized, and because really it's also a very dangerous thing if it's taken wrong. Marijuana is a similar case of that.
Okay. Last one on this subject, yeah. Eva?
Marijuana is often seen as a gateway drug, but people don't realise this is only because of the context we put it in. If we put it as a taboo, drug dealers are much more likely to push their customers who are buying the marijuana off them to more addictive substances such as heroin and crack. But the thing is marijuana is not addictive in itself, not completely. So a really, really low percentage of people who do use marijuana regularly are actually addicted to it. Many people can go cold turkey and come off it in a matter of weeks.
Okay, I'm going to finish off now with you as an individual, just finally appealing to the voters at Ditcham Park and trying to persuade them.
Well, we believe in young people. We believe your future is very important, and that is why we're going to introduce a lot more laws, like helping you get on the housing ladder earlier. We're actually going to be giving young people discounts on bus passes so you can get around places without financial worry. And we're going to try and help you when you're growing up, when you're getting into those harder times. You need support, which is why you can count on us. You can count on the Liberal Democrats to help you and to make you stronger. We have your interests best at heart.
Marxist Party.
Well, Marxism is all about equality, and making everyone equal will mean there is no discrimination, everyone has food, everyone has somewhere to live. And also, North Korea is communist, and we love North Korea.
SMP.
Independence of Scotland is a great thing. I believe in Scotland. You believe in Scotland. Vote for the SNP.
Conservative Party.
You should vote Conservative because it gives you stability in this uncertain time. We're already negotiating Brexit deals, we're already on it. To vote for someone else would cause more uncertainty, more unstableness in this already unstable time. And that's why you should vote for Conservatives.
Green Party.
Last year, the majority of young people voted for Green. We believe in young people. We are the future of this country, and we have a lot of promise for. We have a promise to young people, and we want to win. So vote Green.
Labour Party.
A vote for Labour is not just a vote for tax relief for the poor, more money for the NHS and free tuition fees and all these great things for young people. So vote to overthrow the cruel Tories who over the past 7 years have taken money off the poor and done nothing about it and looked down on these people and not given them what they need. And Labour will rectify this by injecting more money into national services, increasing the benefits system, just generally helping people who have been left behind by Conservative rule.
Well, going back to Brexit, while some people were merely thinking about it, we were already formed, we were talking about it. Of course, we take our national security in best interest. We have asked to, if we get into power, we wish to put 20,000 more soldiers and policemen into our forces to make our country much more safer, to take interest in you. We want to make sure that we have a safe Britain, we have a secure Britain, and a secure financial future. So really, you should vote for us and trust us.
Okay, well, thank you all, party members. Thank you for talking about your party policies, and there's no doubt that the voters at Ditcham Park are going to be very informed. Well done. That's brilliant.